Okay.
Let's see it work.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody, and thanks for accommodating. We're having a big bar mitzvah.
You're not in the picture.
I'm not in the picture.
They have a bar mitzvah upstairs.
He is in the picture.
He is in the picture?
Yeah, you see, he's in the picture. Come move closer.
Oh, you are
Okay.
in the picture.
I'm in the picture. Okay. So Jose is setting up the chairs already. This starting today. So we'll be here today and Thursday also for lunch and learn. Good. So Parshat Shlach is a very, very difficult and troubling parasha. Page 798. Parshat Shlach is the spies, the scouts being sent to the land of Israel, and they're coming back with their incredibly negative report, with the exception of two. The exception of two were Kalev and Yehoshua, who came back with a positive report. Just an interesting aside, we have the concept of a minyan. A minyan is when you have 10 people,
Good.
then there are certain things, certain parts of the tefillah that can be said. Certain things are called dvarim shebekedusha, matters of kedusha, of holiness, and for that you need 10 people, because when 10 people are there, there's a certain degree of divine presence, of Shekhinah, that is there, and that's what enables us to say Kaddish, to say Kedusha, to say all these different things. Where do we learn out? Where do we learn out the number 10? From the Meraglim, right?
What's Meraglim?
From the spies, right? Because they are called V'nikdashti betoch b'nei Yisroel, and they're called toch, Eda. They're called an Eda, they're called a congregation. So it's from the Meraglim that we learn out that when you have 10 people, you have a minyan. And you could say things, you could daven and do parts of tefillah that require a minyan. Now, of all the places to learn out, hi Amy, of all the places to learn out this concept, that when there's a minyan of 10 people, that 10 makes a minyan. How are you, Amy? Why would we learn it out from the Meraglim of all people? Right? These were the spies. These are the ones who came back with a dastardly report about Israel. They're the ones who died. And because of them, we spent 40 years in the Midbar, in the desert, until we could enter the land of Israel. Isn't there a better source or better group that the Torah could have used to teach us that when there's 10 people, you have a minyan, you have the required quorum? What do you say about that, Rabotai?
Yes, there should be a better one.
So the whole people should be punished for these 10 people.
Oh, so
spies.
you're asking another question. Why should everyone be punished for these 10 people? And you're 100% right. They should not be. The problem is that everyone bought into what the spies were saying. And they disregarded what Moshe had said, what God had said. It's a wonderful land, Zavat Chalav Udvash, it's flowing with milk and honey. And everyone disregarded that, and they all started crying that night when the spies, we'll come to it soon, the night that the spies came back, they all, how are you? They all started crying away. And that night, which calendar night was that? The night that they're all crying? Which Jewish date on the calendar is that? Tisha B'Av. On the 9th of Av. When we cried about not wanting to go to Israel, we ended up crying because of our being banished and exiled from Israel. So you're 100% right that if it were just those 10, everyone would not have been punished. The problem was that we'll soon see the verses, the entire congregation started to cry. They bought into that narrative of theirs, okay? But again, why would we pick the 10 spies, as our source to learn out the concept of a quorum, the concept of a minyan?
Maybe in spite of it.
In spite of it, that what?
They kept going and kept trying to go to Israel and to achieve that goal. They didn't.
Well, the spies didn't. The nation did. The nation did.
No, didn't go away actually. Stayed there.
10 is a holy number.
I'm sorry?
A holy number, no?
Yeah, but
Because 10, like 10's part of harvest went to Jerusalem to priests. Yes, like
that what? I'm sorry.
the 10th part of harvest. Yeah,
Tenth
went to
portion.
10th portion of
Oh,
crop.
yes.
Crop.
I think it's a
Yes, maaser, good.
that-
Yes, maaser sheni. Yes, the 1/10, right? 10 is certainly a big number for us, right? But why is it learned out from the Meraglim? Why is it learned out from the spies? So I'll tell you, I had an interesting situation. I was, this is when I was still living in New York. I was at a shiva house, and we were about to start davening, and there was one person, a man who was not observant at all, and he didn't really know how to daven, didn't know much about davening, so he visited with the person who was mourning, and then he was about to leave. And I did a quick count, and I said, we've got 9, we need him. So I said to him, I said, we're about to start prayers, we need to have a quorum of 10, would you be able to, I understand if you're in a rush, but would you be able to stay? Right? Because the sense that I had was he wasn't leaving because he was in a rush, he was leaving because he didn't really know much about prayer, and it didn't, and the guy's face lit up. Right? And he turned to me, the Orthodox rabbi, and said, I didn't think you would count me. And I said, of course we count you. You're one of our people. Of course. You're one of our peeps. Yeah. Yeah. Of course we're going to count you. And the guy was beaming. But to me, it was so painful that his understanding, his thought was that we wouldn't count him, that he doesn't. His thought was he doesn't count.
He actually had the most important role in that situation.
He was the one. He was the closer. Yeah, he brought the Shekhinah. He brought the divine presence. And I think the Torah is giving us a very important message. That every single member of our nation is one of our people, and even the whole concept of having 10 people, a minyan, and now we could say Kaddish, now we could say Kedusha, now there is this extra presence of God's that allows us to say certain things. Yes, the Meraglim, learn it from there. And therefore, never look at a person and say, "I'm sorry, we're not going to count this person."
Sometimes they're not Jewish, and we don't know, so it's hard.
That's more of a challenge, right? Right? Not that a non-Jewish person doesn't count, but for a minyan, you need to have 10 people who are obligated, right? That's why we have. I was very good at math when I was growing up, but I have a rule here in shul: only I can count 10. Only I can count for the minyan, because, right? Because I know the backstory, and I know this person might look very, very observant, but this person actually is in the conversion process, right? But is not yet Jewish, right?
He's not counted as a 10th.
No, you need to have 10 right? 10 Jews, yeah, right? So the rule in the shul is I'm the only one who knows how to count to 10. Right, and that way, because otherwise we start and the person gets embarrassed, and so that way we just kind of keep it under wraps. Okay.
Rabbi,
Yes.
I just feel like putting the sanctity on the Meraglim like that kind of negates the negativity that we give to them for what they did. Because if there were 10 and Hashem was with them, then maybe they did the right thing.
They didn't do the right thing, but, and they died soon afterwards, but if before that, right, we had a minyan and we had five people and 5 Meraglim, or 1 person and 9 Meraglim, or 10 Meraglim, they had a minyan. It would count as a minyan, right?
But that counts as Hashem's presence.
Would be there to allow certain davenings to be said. Yes. Yes, certain parts of davening could be said. So let's begin our parsha over here. Vaydaber Hashem Moshe Lemor Be'ivrit B'vakasha, page 798. Ruti B'chavod.
וידבר השם אל משה לאמור, שלח לך אנשים ויתורו את ארץ כנען אשר אני נותן לבני ישראל איש אחד למטה אבותיו, ישלחו כל נשיא בהם. וישלח אותם משה ממדבר פרן על פי אדוני כולם אנשים אשר בני ישראל ממה.
Beautiful. In English, please, 1, 2, 3.
Hashem spoke to Moses, saying, "Send forth men, if you please, and let them spy out the land of Canaan that I give to the children of Israel. 1 man each from his father's tribe shall you send, every one a leader among them." Moses sent them forth from the wilderness of Paran at Hashem's command. They were all distinguished men, heads of the children of Israel were they.
Okay, and then we start listing them. Right?
But why not 12, only 10? Why not?
Oh, there were 12. But 10 of them went bad. 10 of them came back with the bad report. 2 of them came back with the good report. Right? And let's go down to 17. Moses sent them to spy out the land of Canaan. And he said to them, "Ascend here in the south, climb the mountains, see the land. How is it, the people that dwell in it, strong or weak, few or numerous? The land in which it dwells," we turn to page 801, "Hatovehi amra'ah, good or bad. Umeharim, and the cities that they're in, Habamachanim, Imbamtsarim, are they fortified, are they open? And how is the land? Hashmeinahi imrazah, is it fat, right? Is it fertile? Is it lean? Okay, and they did that. They went to the land. And they cut these different vines, different fruits, and they came back after 40 years. Okay? Vayisapru. Let's go down to Pasuk Chav Zayin, page 27.
Pasuk 27?
Pasuk 27, the bottom of page 800, 801. In Hebrew, please, Vayisapru lo.
ויספרו לו ויאמרו באנו אל הארץ אשר שלחתם וגם זבת חלב ודבש הוא וזה קריה. אפס כי עז העם היושב בארץ והערים בצורות גדולות מאוד וגם ילידי הענק ראינו שם. עמלק יושב בארץ הנגב והחיטי והיבוסי והאמורי יושב בהר.
Beautiful. In English, please, from 27, they reported to him.
They reported to him and said, "We arrived in the land to which you sent us, and indeed it flows with milk and honey, and this is its fruit. But the people that dwells in the land is powerful. The cities are fortified and very great, and we also saw there were there the offspring of the giant. Amalek dwells in the area of the south. The Hittite, the Jebusite, and the Amorite dwell on the mountain, and the Canaanite dwells by the sea, on the bank of the Jordan."
Okay, so what happened over here? They started off with something very positive. Yes, right? It's flowing with milk and honey, and this is its fruit, right? So our sages learn out that any matter of falsehood, you need to start off with some truth, right? And that way people will listen. They started off with positive, and then they said, "Ephes," but Ki az ha'am, the people are very powerful, and the cities are fortified, and children of giants, we saw that, and our good friend Amalek, right? That's a good way to arouse the panic of the people. Just mention the name Amalek is there. So they are twisting it over here. They're bringing out all of the fears that the people have. Why? Good. Let's go a little bit further. Vayahas, Pasuk Lamed 30, Vayahas Kalev et ha'am el Moshe. Right, fascinating. Kalev silenced the people to Moshe. Meaning Kalev saw the way that it was going, and he knew that if he would start to defend, then people would shout him down. So he made it appear as if he was joining the fray. He too was going to start to lambast the land. And he started to say, he quieted him to Moshe. Rashi brings the medrash that he said, is that all that this guy did, that Moshe did to us? Right? And people thought that he was going to start to pile on. Right? So they all got quiet. And then he started saying, he split the sea, he brought the man, he brought us the quail, right? He's done everything from us. Vayomer, and he said, Alo naleh, we will go up the arashnu otah, and we will inherit it, we will take control of it. Ki yachol nuchal la, because we will be able to do it. Va'anashim, and the people asher alu imo, who went up with him, amru, they said, Lo nuchal la'alot el ha'am. We can't go up against this nation. Ki chazak hu mimenu. He is strong. They are stronger than us, or they are stronger mimeno. They are stronger than God. Vayotziu dibat ha'aretz, and they brought out the bad tidings about this land that they had served it. Asher Torah b'nei Yisroel limor ha'aretz sheravanu v'la Torah eretz ochel tishveahi. It is a land that consumes its inhabitants. V'chol ha'am asher reinu b'tocha anshe midot, right? And they are humongous people. They're all huge in that land. V'sham ra'inu et ha'nefilim, and we saw there the Nephilim, the sons of giants. V'nihi v'einenu k'chagavim v'chein hayinu be'eineihem. Right? We were like grasshoppers in our eyes, and that's how we were in their eyes. So why? Why are they doing this? These were great people. These were the leaders. Right? The whole exodus from Egypt was meant to bring us to the land of Israel. And here... Go.
Did they lie purposely, or they just perceived what they see?
Okay, good. So the commentators have different approaches. Some say that they were used to living on this high, miraculous level of existence, and for them to go into the land of Israel where it was going to be a step down. Now, instead of the manna falling from the heavens and them eating that, they'd have to start to plow and plant and harvest and make all this food, and still recognize that it comes from Hashem. And they felt that this was a step down that was going to be too much for the people to do. They didn't want to have this step down. Now, also, these were the leaders, but once we entered the land of Israel, they were no longer going to be the leaders. And therefore, and let's dwell on this a little bit, and therefore they sabotaged the whole effort. But one second, we're talking about great people, right? You're telling me these great people are going to sabotage the whole national plan, the whole plan for the children of Israel, because they wanted to have, the corner office, because they wanted to have the high position. But there's an expression that lashon hara, which is speaking disparagingly, is not a sin of the mouth. It is a sin of the eye. Meaning, it all depends how we perceive something. The lashon hara, the speaking badly, that's because in my mind I've already decided this or that. And then the result is what I say. But it all begins with my eye. How is my eye perceiving something? La briut. Right? Let's look over. Yes, Cheryl.
So first, the Mishkan was right there.
The Mishkan.
And they wanted to distance themselves away from Hashem. It was too intense. They complained about the manna. They complained about everything. Now they want everything that they were complaining about. So they don't want to work. They want to get the manna. They want to be closer to Hashem.
So these are the Nesiim. These are the leaders. That's how some explain the leaders. The people fell into the story, the description that they gave, and they started crying, we're never going to make it there. We're going to get slaughtered over there. It's not going to work. But the leaders were the one who had this. Now, these are all, that's what I'm saying. They weren't clearly, I would even say consciously, thinking about their honor. But if we have a certain mindset, then we're going to see things in accordance with that mindset. If we're starting off that something is positive, we're going to see it in a positive way, right? Someone buys something, right? They have to convince everyone else, oh, this is a good thing. Why? Because I bought it. I've got to support that, right? Right? What we decide from the start, then that's what we are going to see. I love the expression, and don't bother me with the facts. Don't bother me with the facts. Right? We see it, we're going to see it in a certain way. The Stipler Gaon points out, they said it's a land that consumes its inhabitants. Rashi brings, wherever we went, they were burying people. That's the commentator here. Wherever they went, we're still on page 802, 803, don't worry. Right? Wherever they went, we saw them burying people. We saw these big funerals. Rashi says, and Rashi continues, and God did this in order to keep them busy with all their funerals, and that way they wouldn't be concerned about these people who are passing through. Now, let's view this logically. Wherever they went, there were these big funerals. Does that mean people are dying there all the time or not dying there all the time?
A lot of people were attending funerals.
And if a lot of people are attending, what does that mean?
They're giving honor to the person who died.
Okay. Does that mean that people are dying all the time or not dying all the time?
No, not all. Otherwise, there were no funeral. Nobody
not all the time.
Organizes funerals.
Right? In the Holocaust, right? In the camps, when someone died.
They didn't have funerals. No.
Right? They didn't have funerals. Right? When it's unusual, well, it's never unusual. That's where we're all going. But when it's not happening all the time, when it's a rare, right? That's right. So that's what they should have viewed. But when you have your preconceived notion, meaning very often we have these different feelings that want us to view things a certain way. They had their want to be in an important position. Right? So therefore they viewed that in this way. A story I've told before, a great story. I think when I came from my Prabber Shabbos, my tryout Shabbos here in Beth Jacob, I told this story. But it's a great story, and it really speaks to this point. When I was teaching in the yeshiva in Israel, so all the boys would come to my house Friday night after the Suda, after the meal, and Natalie is an amazing baker, and they have delicious cake and everything, and everybody loved Natalie's baking. So I had a group that I was finishing a certain Masechta, a certain Gemara, we were completing it. And when you complete it, you make a siyum, right? You have a little celebration at the completion. So I said to them, guys, you pick the cake, right? What cake should I ask Natalie if she can make for us and they said, oh, we love Natalie's apple crumb cake. I said, no problem at all. Okay? I went home. Now, Natalie was then pregnant with our oldest son and was not feeling very well and did not want to go into the kitchen, right, as happens often during different parts of pregnancy, right, an aversion to the kitchen. So she said, I can't. I said, no problem. It's not rocket science, I'll make it. And she's like, I don't think it's going to work out well. I said, come on, just tell me what to do, right? How bad can it be, right? Famous last words. How bad can it be? So this was a fantastic cake. It was a batter, applesauce, and batter. And then you bake it. And you have this delicious apple crumb cake with the cake on the bottom, the applesauce in the middle, and the cake on the top. So she's giving me directions from a distance, and I'm doing my best. And I took it out a little bit too early.
Mushy.
So it was like this mush on top instead of the way it's supposed to be. Right? And she takes one look at it and she says, you can't serve this to the guys. I said, I think I can. I think I could pull this one off. She goes, don't. I said, no, I can. All right. I said, it'll be fine. I said, if it's a bomb, I'll take credit. But I think it'll be fine. So I brought it to the yeshiva, and I strategically kept it covered the whole time, right? So no one should get too good a look at it until the critical point. And we make the siyum, and we sing Mazel Tov, and we dance, and then with a flourish, I open the cake and I say, the apple crumb cake, come guys. I cut these really big pieces. Right? And the guy's a little bit hesitant, but they eat it and it tastes fine. Right? And then one of the guys says to me something that I'll remember forever. And he says, Rabbi, lots of the wives make this apple cake. But only Natalie puts the special cream on top. Right, that unbaked batter, the special cream on top. And I said, oh, that's right. Only she does that. Right? But what was happening there? In his mind, it was good. He was having a good time. It was positive. We made a siyum. We were celebrating. And it's Natalie's cake. If in your mind it's good, it's going to be good. And if in your mind, right, even with that crazy unbaked batter, and if in your mind something's not good, if this person is not a good person, right, no matter what that person does, you're going to see it in a negative light. There's a fantastic story about Rabbi Eliezer Silver, who was a rabbi from Cincinnati. And he was also clergy in the army, and he was sent part of the U.S. Army. He was going in different places in Europe. Many stories about him, right? He went to an orphanage where he was told that there were Jewish children that were being held in this that were being housed in this monastery orphanage. And he went there to the priest, and the priest said, no Jewish children here at all. Any Jewish children, I give them to you. There are no Jewish children here at all. Right? And the Schwarzes are German Schwarzes, and the Schwimmers are German Schwimmers, and the Schindlers are German Schindlers. No Jewish children here at all. But he knew that there were some Jewish children there. So it was towards the evening, the children were going to sleep, and he said, can I go into the dormitory area, right, and share something with the children? And the priest said, okay. So he went into the room where all the children were on these beds, and he screams out, Shema Yisroel, Hashem Elokeinu. And he stops. And 6 voices answered, Hashem Echad. And he said, those are my children. Right? And he took those children. He went and he met a survivor who was a very, very bitter, angry survivor, understandably so. And he said to the rabbi, Rabbi Silver, Rabbi, I will never, ever pray again. And he said, why? Why do you say that? And he said, I was in the camps, and there was a person who had a siddur there. And he was charging other Jews, his brothers. He was charging them a day's ration of bread to allow them to use his siddur. Disgusting. You have a siddur, and they want to daven from the siddur. And there were people lined up giving him their portion of bread, and he kept taking people's portion of bread to let them use their siddur. I will never pray again. And he said to this person, why are you looking? Why are you focusing on that person who was in a terrible plight and did a terrible thing and was charging everyone? Look at the line of people. Jews were willing to give up their daily ration of bread. They were willing to give that up to have a few minutes with a siddur. And you have the opportunity now to have a siddur. Don't look at him. Look at them. It's our eyes. We decide, what do we look at? What do we focus on? Let me show you something fascinating. I think in the back we should have Eicha. Good. Come to the back. We have Eicha. Where is Eicha? There we go. Page 1273 in the back of the Sidurim, we have Eicha. Eicha is Lamentations. Right? Lamentations is the Megillah that we read on Tisha B'Av, on the 9th day of Av. 1273. We mentioned already, what's the connection between the Meraglim, the spies, and Eicha? Well, the pasuk that I stopped right before was, after they heard this, I'm just going back, you come to 1273, I'm back on 802 for a moment. Vatisa kol eidah, the whole congregation, you asked why they punished for the 10. Yeah. The whole congregation lifted up their voices, vayivku ha'am, and the nation cried, balaylahu, on that night. That night, we said, was the night of Tisha B'Av. Yeah. And our crying about not wanting to enter the land of Israel led to our crying about being banished from the land of Israel. Eicha is written by Yirmiyahu, Jeremiah the prophet. It's lamentations about the destruction of the temple, the destruction of Jerusalem, and are being banished, being exiled. Right? We start off, Eicha Yashva Vada. The whole tune of Eicha is this haunting, sad tune. How can she sit in such solitude? Ha'ir Abbasiyam, the city that was so great with people, Haisa Ka'almana, has become like a widow. Ravasiva Goyim, Sarativa Medinos, Haisa Lamas, the greatest among nations, the princess among the provinces, has become Lamas, one that is now paying its tribute, paying its taxes. Now, if you look in this chapter, there are 22 verses. Oh, 22 verses. What else is 22? The Aleph Bet. And the first pasuk begins with Aleph, the second one with Bet, next one with Gimel, fourth one with Dalid, Hey, right? It goes through, right, the letters of the Aleph Bet, right, in order. Look at chapter 2 on page 1274. Eicha Ya'iv Bi'apo Hashem et Bat Zion. How many verses in chapter 2? Look on 1275. Oh, 22 verses. How many verses in chapter 3? There we've got 66. The first 3 verses are Alephs. The next 3 are Bet. It all goes in order. Dalit.
How you count verses?
Oh, how do I count verses? So look on page 1274, right before chapter 2. Look above that, and you see it says 22. Let all their wickedness come before you. Right? And look over here on page 1275, right above where it says chapter 3 in English. Right above that, you see the verse before that is 22. Look on page, right? And on page 1277, where chapter 4 begins, the verse above that is 66.
Where do you see 66?
Look on 1277, 2 lines down.
Up on the top.
1277 on the top. 2 lines down before chapter 4 begins.
Look at pursue.
Pursue them in anger and destroy them, 66. It's all going in order, except for, strange, in chapter 2, let's look at verse 16 on page 1275. That's Samach, Safku. The next one should be Ayin, but actually 16 is Pei and 17 is Ayin. So we go out of order. Pei goes before Ayin. Look in chapter 3, right? Once again, verses 46, 47, 48 are Pei, and then 49, 50, 51 are Ayin. And look again on chapter 4, 1277. Verse 16 is Pei, verse 17 is Ayin. So we're all about going in order, except the Pei and the Ayin are reversed. Our sages say, oh, Pei is Pei, hey. That's the mouth. Ayin, the letter Ayin, means the eye. Ayin means eye. Right? So it's supposed to be Ayin before Pei. You're supposed to see before you speak. But they spoke, they put the Peh before the Ayin. They spoke before they saw. But what does that mean, they spoke before they saw? They first saw you can't speak before you see. They had to speak about what they saw, right? It's only when they came back, they saw for those 40 days, and then they came back and they spoke. So what do you mean their Peh was before their Ayin? What do you mean they spoke before they saw? They saw first and then they spoke.
They talked before they saw the positive thing.
Okay.
I think that maybe you could see it in a different way, right?
Okay.
There's a possibility.
Right? So the ayin, right? Does our eye see anything?
Whatever you
Just in
want
their
to
mind.
say.
Our eye doesn't see a thing,
Light goes in.
right? Our eye catches reflection of light or non-reflection of light, right? You know, this blue tablecloth actually is anything but blue. This tablecloth is absorbing all of the spectrum
That is blue.
of light except for the blue.
Oh, except.
And that's why the blue is what's reflecting off. And that's why we see this as blue. This is anything but blue. It's everything but blue. So all other light is absorbed, and the blue is what is reflected out, and that's what goes through this camera, and then our brain
Processes.
puts together the picture. So our eye is simply transmitting the information to our brain, and our brain puts it together. You know, there are tests that you have. You go to an optometrist or ophthalmologist for. Do you see these different lights that are lighting up all around to check for your vision? Why? Because I'm not so medically, but my understanding is if there's a tear in the retina, right? So then you might have blind spots, but you won't see the blind spots. Why won't you see the blind spots?
Because we fill it in.
Because your brain fills it in. But you need to know if you have these blind spots. So therefore, these different lights that are flashing at all different intervals, all different places, if there's a blind spot, you're not going to see it. You're not going to press that button. You're not going to see it. Because the brain is putting it all together and filling in spots and making sense of what we see. So the peh before the ayin is we're speaking before we have fully understood, analyzed, and seen clearly what's there, or even taking it a step further, our peh before the ayin, we already decided what we're going to say before we saw anything at all. We went in with our preconceived idea, decision. We've already judged it. We've already decided this is what it is. And then I've got to make what I see fit the narrative. The peh, what I'm going to say, is already there before the ayin. And that is something that we all struggle with. That we all always struggle with. And to be able to open up our eyes and our minds and to see things as they are or as they could be, as opposed to going in with our definite sense. When I first went to Israel post high school, so I was not a yeshiva boy I was studying at a yeshiva, but I was not. I had a cousin who was very, very observant, and we had relatives in Mea Sha'arim. Mea Sha'arim is this Hasidic enclave in Jerusalem, and I had relatives there. And my cousin kept saying, come with me, we'll go see the relatives. And I kept making excuses because I didn't really, I wasn't going to feel comfortable there. And they weren't going to accept me. So I didn't want to go. And my cousin kept pushing me, come with me, they're really nice. So I said, all right, I'll go. And I walked in there, and this is, Hasidim with the long peyot and the big black velvet kippah and everything. And I was there. I actually had hair in those days, believe it or not. It's hard to imagine, right? And my hair was pretty long. I had a little kippah sruga, a little knitted kippah. I was wearing a jeans and a t-shirt, And I went to see them. And from the moment I walked in, there was this overwhelming sense of acceptance and love that they were just projecting onto me, saying, "You're our family, we love you, please come, don't change for us, but just come, you are welcome." And I used to go for Shabbat, and Shabbat in Meir Sha'arim, as my uncle, it wasn't really an uncle, it was my grandmother's cousin, I forgot, Mishpacha, family, right? He would say to me, "Shabbat Baruchov." That you just, wherever you walked, you just sensed the Shabbat settled in over there. And we'd be going for a walk down Rehov Meir Sha'arim, filled with Hasidim. And my uncle was there, very, very dignified, with his white beard and his white payas and his streimel and his long black coat. And I was next to him in a pair of pants and a shirt, and with hands in pocket, and we're walking along, engrossed in conversation. And people are looking like, who put these two together, right? But he was just so warm and welcoming. And I had my mouth before my eye. I already had